All right, welcome to the really brief overview for Jitsi Meet, a free open source video collaboration platform. We're going to begin by entering our desired name. You notice here I've chosen a day, our location, and the type of meeting that we're choosing. We want to make sure to add a couple of these unique identifiers because this is a public-facing name and should be unique from other names in the world. Once we've entered our desired name, we simply press Go. When we press Go, you can see the title is found up here. Our video, if we enabled a camera, would be here. And you can see that your microphone would be working if you're talking by seeing the little blue dots moving up there. I'm going to go over the basic controls in this overview tutorial from left to right. So starting at the bottom left of the screen, you'll notice there's a Share Your Screen button. It's very easy to use. This is really helpful if you're tutoring a Ruhi book, for instance, or hosting a deepening where you'd like to share one of the pages or of sections that you're studying. Very simple, you simply press Share Your Screen and you'll get an option to share your entire screen. This is within Google Chrome. The browser Google Chrome allows for the best screen sharing right now. You can also choose an application window instead. So for instance, you could choose a certain browser tab, and when you press share, this becomes your screen. To stop sharing, you simply press this button again. The next button is raise or lower your hand. When you press this, it's going to display a banner across the top for everyone, a little notification saying that you have raised or lowered your hand, and you notice it is selected right now. We can press it again to lower our hand. That can be helpful if you're, for instance, facilitating a meeting, because then once someone's raised their hand, it will show this blue icon up here, and everyone will be on the right-hand side here. You'll actually be able to see who would like to speak, and then you can let them know that you've seen them and that they can speak. This is probably most helpful for larger gatherings where facilitation is needed. I'll lower my hand for now. The next button is chat. Chat is something that works a little bit differently on video conferencing software than you're used to on messaging. When you open the chat, you'll be asked to choose a nickname, and you can just choose your name and type that in there and press the enter key. Now you'll be able to type a message and hit the enter key to send it. This will send to everyone who is currently in the group. You've noticed also when I type your name in, it actually comes up here, and so it's labeled you by your name. Of course, this would be your name. Now, along the right-hand side, you'll see everyone's thumbnails as they join. It can be helpful, actually, to ask them to press the chat button just once and type in their name. In that way, it will be easier to keep track of who's raising their hand and who's making requests. To close the chat, you press this button. I'd like to make one quick note as well, that the chat will only send to whoever is currently joined in the space. So the meeting chat only applies to whoever is currently joined, and if somebody joins later, they will not see past messages. And this is a security feature because it's an open meeting space. We can press this to close the chat. Our next button is very simple. It's to mute the microphone. It's a very important button. We can press it once to mute it. When the cross is through the microphone, our voice will be muted. You can see that you'll actually receive a notification here if you're muted, and it senses that you're trying to speak. So you can either press unmute or click this button to unmute like that. Next, we have this, which is the end call or leave button. very simple. You click it, it will end the call. Very important to note, and this is a great feature of Jitsi, is that the call can continue even after the host leaves. So the host is more of a virtual role. You're the person sending out the information if you're hosting, but you don't necessarily own the room. So you can leave and others can stay in. Moving over here, we have the button to start or stop the camera, and this would either show your camera here or hide it, and we've turned that off for this tutorial. The next button is called Toggle Tile View, and this is a really helpful one. It's going to be difficult to show you without many people in the meeting, but imagine you had all of the thumbnails here, and you're probably familiar with this from other platforms, like Zoom potentially, or FaceTime. And when you press this button, it's going to show a tile of every single person, and it will show dozens of people on the screen at once, including their video and audio. You can press it again to disable that, and when you disable it, it will only show the person speaking, including their video. The second to last button here, you can see when you hover over the buttons, they give you the details. When you press it, you'll get the share information. Now this is a link which you can see is very simply meet.jit.c / and then your desired name, which you already entered here. And you can copy just that with this button here. But what I find helpful is to press the copy button down here. When you copy that, it's going to copy instructions. And just for the sake of showing you what that looks like, I can go ahead and paste them here. And I'm just going to press enter to send. And this is what you could send to someone. You would not send it in the chat, but you could send this on WhatsApp or on an email. And they're going to receive the person who's inviting you. That would be your name. They're going to receive a link here, which they can click on to join the meeting. They also receive a phone number, which is helpful. They can copy this into their phone dialer. And then if they're international, you can press this button and you'll be able to, you're going to be able to see international numbers so that nobody gets charged long distance. And then that will also show you the PIN on that page. I'm going to close this out. The final things I'm going to show you are under more actions, and then I'll show you briefly a couple actions on the speakers. You'll see there's actually a lot of information here that's been hidden away to make the interface simpler for everyone. If you're on a desktop computer, you're going to get a little bit more, or a laptop, you'll get a little bit more detail here, like for instance, blur my background, and that's going to take out the background behind you. These are non-essential features for most people. I'll just go from the top. Your name, if you click on this, you'll get to enter your name and change it. And this is also opening the settings. Manage video quality. It will automatically take care of this, but you can, if you're having connection issues, you can move this down and it will set you to only audio or to a lower resolution video stream. When you press view full screen, it will open this window full screen in your monitor. Start live stream. This is helpful if you're looking to broadcast to a larger number of people, but requires a little bit of setup. So you'll need to open a YouTube account and get your live stream key and paste that here, and then it will connect automatically. You can also record locally, and this can be helpful if you need a record of a meeting to take minutes later, but you should be aware that anybody can record in the meeting, just like anybody could record their own screen during a call. It's pretty standard. Share a YouTube video is a nice feature to be able to collectively watch a YouTube video, so you can paste the URL in here and press share. That can be helpful if you're reviewing a video from Frontiers of Learning, for instance. We talked about blur my background. Settings was open before, but it's helpful because you can go ahead and open your camera or microphone and choose your speakers. And so you'll get different options here. And you can see that your voice is working. You can check that your face is there. Also in settings, of course, is profile, which we looked at before. You can also integrate your calendar securely with OAuth, which means when you press this, you can actually see, if you have a Google Calendar, a list of events and link a Jitsi meeting to an event. That can be helpful for recurring events. You can also change the settings here so that everybody starts muted, for instance, or everybody follows me. What these mean is that as someone joins, that they'll be muted initially, and then they have to unmute when they want to call. This is really helpful for larger gatherings when too many voices talking at once would be overwhelming. Everyone starts hidden means that it hides their cameras by default, and this is less helpful because it's helpful to see if someone is trying to talk, even though they're muted. Everyone follows me means that if you're, for instance, a speaker in a gathering, you can press this button. And again, that just means by default, it's going to select you as the main speaker. And even if someone else speaks, it will stay on your face for those who have not enabled tile view. I'm going to press cancel to exit out of settings and go back to more actions in the corner. We have a mute everyone button. This is helpful if one person is about to speak. You can also access this mute everyone feature by going over one of the thumbnails here, and you'll see a button similar to these little dots, and you can choose to mute everyone else. And that's really helpful if you're not sure where some noise is coming from or something and you're just trying to troubleshoot. You can press that button and then the one person who's about to speak can remain unmuted. Speaker stats, again, this is all more advanced, so don't worry about it if you don't need these features. But speaker stats opens up a list of all the participants along with their name if they've entered it in the chat like I previously showed. And it'll show the time that they've spoken. This can be helpful for a moderator or facilitator to take a look at, but may not be applicable to most gatherings. When we press more actions, we can also see a leave feedback option, and this just sends feedback to the developers. Finally, view shortcuts. This shows some handy keyboard shortcuts, so feel free to take a look through those. For instance, if you mute your microphone, you can press and hold spacebar to temporarily unmute it. Or you could tell everyone just to press the W key instead of telling them to find the tile button if you find that easier. I hope that's been helpful, and that is all for now. I hope that you have best of luck streaming your devotionals, core activities, and other gatherings.